Hi Deirdrie, how are you going?
I'm good, how are you?
I am terrific.
Excellent.
So, we're here today to talk about what's important to you in your life.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've talked about this before.
We have.
But we wanted to do a video interview with you because, well, what's important to you sometimes changes, and we thought it might be interesting to dig into that a little bit more.
Okay.
So, just by way of background, tell me a little bit about you, like where you grew up, and you know what life was like growing up, and a little bit about where you're from, and also what you're up to now in life.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in South Australia, in the country, in a tiny country town, and my dad ran the mechanic. He was the mechanic for the town. We lived opposite the pub, so I had a very country South Australian childhood, and went to an area school, and we'd travel for district sport. Like all of that was a real country, dirt between your toes, dry, dusty, wheat plain childhood. And we moved to Adelaide when I was probably just before I turned, was a teenager, 13, and I spent the rest of my growing up in Adelaide in South Australia until I was in my mid-20s, and I qualified to be a librarian. So yeah, I love being a librarian, I love writing, I love books. And I think I did one of those aptitude tests, and they said you can be a writer, or you can be an author, or you can be a journalist. And I went, well, I'm not really interested in politics, so there's no point being a journalist. I'll be a librarian. So it's been a real thing for me. And then I pursued my career. It took me from Adelaide to Melbourne to Sydney, and then up here to Queensland. Yeah.
Awesome.
That was my growing up.
Yeah.
What else did you ask me?
What are you up to now?
What I'm up to now, I work in a beautiful campus where we are here, Australian Catholic University, and I'm a librarian. I work here and I manage two teams. One team manages all the data, and the other team converts all the readings and the textbooks for students who are blind or vision impaired or have some kind of physical disability where they can't hold a textbook to do their studies. Yeah.
Gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Not something people expect a librarian to do, actually.
Yeah, and I guess that makes sense. Like, I've got a blind friend who's at university, and he has to get that done like every few months, like well ahead of the semester.
That's right.
Yeah, and you just kind of take it for granted. You can just open a book. So yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
So Deirdrie, what's important to you in your life?
What's important? Probably what led me even to being a librarian. There's a couple of things. So people are really important to me, and people's experience of life really matters to me. And the written word has always been a way of, the richness of history and human experience on the planet. And being a librarian enables me to combine all of that. All of the things that I love about history and art and life and real people and research. And yeah, I think being a librarian sort of puts me right in the middle of where we've come from and where we're going. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's like you're gatekeepers for documents about history, right through, which shape the future of humanity.
Yeah, really facilitating that knowledge. I've always been aware there's this tiny bit of knowledge that I know, but I can access all of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So people being important to you, and books being important to you, and safeguarding that history and the
probably
future.
Writing rather than, like, we've kind of moved on from books in some ways.
Yeah.
Certainly in academic libraries there's a lot of focus on electronic,
Yeah.
but it's writing that record of history, of story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at your day-to-day life and what's important to you, like how are you making that documenting, transcribing, writing, the story keeping, and your love of people, how are you keeping that real for yourself?
How I keep it real for myself, there's probably several ways. I mean, as a librarian, you have your times when you're on the desk dealing with people in reality and their issues and their concerns, and then putting them in touch with what they need. For myself personally, I always have a commitment to be great with people, and I've always also wanted to be a writer. I'm just fascinated by story and how story keeps the past alive. It's quite an interesting concept, but also how story creates the future we're living into. And story really creates our present moment and where we are and how we see ourselves and the world around us. And so I've just started, since I turned 50, I've actually started investing in my writing. And at the moment I'm writing a series called 30 Days of Difference. And they're days in my life that have made a really big difference to me. And I'm writing them as a story, in a story format, to share them with people.
Yeah.
And keep them alive.
So have you thought about maybe publishing those in a book?
I have thought about publishing them in a book.
Yeah.
I've never published a book. Well, I've published academic papers and I've given papers at conferences, but I've never published prose or poetry. So I certainly intend to do more of that as I age gracefully. That's my plan.
Okay, well let's look at that a little bit. So how could you implement steps now that would lead towards that goal of publishing? Like every day, what can you do?
Well, I read somewhere recently that an artist practices their craft every day. And you know, the grand paintings and the great books don't just happen. It's because the artist has practiced their craft every day. And most days I do some writing, some dreaming, some imagining. I met a lady, I'm on the information desk this morning in the library, and a lady came in holding a fruit stick, like a kebab of fruit. And I got curious with her about why she had a fruit stick, and we got chatting. And it was really interesting. We were talking about names and each other's names, and she said something about her surname which she didn't particularly like, but she said it's that surname by marriage, and it just had such a great ring to it. I was like, I've got to write that down. That could be a really good novel title. Like, just, you know.
Great name for a greyhound.
Yeah, that's right. Great name for a greyhound. Yeah, I was on a Zoom call the other week, and there was a lady on the Zoom over in Chiang Mai, and there was a rooster in the background, and she goes, oh, sorry, that's the noisiest rooster in Chiang Mai. And I was like, oh, there's another name for a book. So I'm always writing them, you know, writing my little ideas down, and they might be short stories or they might be, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That just kind of brought something to mind too. Like, what about a website with like name ideas for books?
Yeah.
Or greyhounds.
Yes.
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if you were writing every day, working towards your goal of publishing, what would that look like? Like, what would the writing be about?
Well, my 30 Days of Difference, I have been writing every day for probably the past couple of months, and I know that it ends in 30 short stories. But because I'm involved in that in a project, I'll sometimes have ideas, or I'll think, oh, that's actually a better story than the one that I'd planned to do there. And often what it looks like in my lunch break is setting aside my work and then spending 15, 20 minutes jotting down the ideas that I've sort of had. You know, like your best ideas come when you're cleaning your teeth.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be, you know, I'm converting a book and I know how to do that, and I know how to do it well. And I'll be, you know, doing whatever I'm doing to convert the book, but my brain's sort of thinking about the stories and so it's a matter of capturing them and just playing like an artist plays with paint, playing with words. And what I've discovered in doing that, actually, in putting together those stories about my life, I'm also writing an assignment, my final assignment for a master's subject. And the master's, I'm doing quality assurance in tertiary education and management. And I found myself playing with words and being almost playful and joyful in how I'm doing my assignment for a university subject. And sitting there with the thesaurus open and the dictionary open, and it's become a craft. Yeah. So it shows up in other parts of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And in fact, how I've made a difference to my family with that, my husband's been involved in an art exhibition for an international conference, and he's been giving me pieces of his writing and I've been editing them, but working through the edits with him. And the last piece of work he sent me was 2 pages, and all I had to change was 1 full stop.
Yeah,
and I was able to really acknowledge him for the magnificent writing that he's now producing. And a couple of weeks ago I did a peer review on a conference paper and sent back lots and lots of ways that author could make her paper so much more engaging for the audience to really share her message.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ways it's opening up, and I'm able to make a difference with people through my writing and through my editing and connection.
Yeah, I can really see your passion for it.
Yeah.
It's really incredible and inspiring, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm also looking at another way I'm bringing my writing and my making a difference together is to work with people on grant applications and getting their vision created in words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
I love it. I love the connection that gives me with people and being able to translate that into something, creating the magic on paper.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could really see the connection there between what you're writing and connecting with people, and how you're really making that important in every aspect of your life every day. That's really, really inspiring.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see like where you're at in a few months' time.
It really feels like something that's expanding and unfolding. Yeah, I spend a lot of my early years looking for where can I make a difference in life, and it's a bit of a journey. We're all on our own journey with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before I asked you what's important to you in your life, had anyone ever asked you that question in that same way before?
No.
No. Yeah. And how's it made a difference? Like, it's been a few months since I asked you. How has it made a difference to you?
It makes it real and it brings it alive. Like, I can be in my head about what matters to me and just take no action on that. But I think engaging with you and talking with you about what matters to me, it's actually had me engage at a much deeper level. It's had me really look at what impact do I want to have, where am I living my dream, where am I not living my dream, who's on that journey with me, and I'm much more present to what's possible and what I'm connected to and what lights me up. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's great.
So who do you think would benefit from being asked this question?
Who do I think would benefit from being asked this question? I think every single person on the planet, because everyone has something that matters to them, and people don't always know how to express it, and it's a wonderful gift that you're actually out there asking people and giving them an opportunity to look for themselves. And it's opened things up for me. I think it would open that up for everybody to focus on their dreams, their what they are pursuing, and even find some gaps. Some, I don't know, something new might come from that.
Yeah. So if more people in your life knew what was really important to you and what you were working towards, what difference do you think that would make for you and for them?
Well, here's something since I first talked to you about what matters to me, and I've been pursuing writing grants for people and talking to people and sharing that with people. Actually, it's something I'd never shared before, and I started sharing with people that I'm really passionate about writing and I'm really passionate about bringing projects to life. And I've probably had out of that 3, 4, 5 people coming to me for grant applications that had never happened before.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that would just continue to grow. The more I share it.
That's amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish?
Look, I just want to acknowledge you, because it takes something to go out there and be vulnerable with people and to get into their world and find out what matters to them. And I think that it's incredible that you're doing it. And it's an adventure. and
Yes,
a gift.
It certainly is.
So that's great. Good on you.
Awesome.
Yeah, really good. I
Well,
wish you all the best with the project. Yeah.
thanks, Deirdre. Yeah, and thanks so much for giving your time today to share more about what matters to you. And
You're welcome.
I look forward to talking to you again in a few months' time.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
All right.
Bye.